Beyond their on-screen romance, Maureen O'Hara and John Wayne were lifelong friends, united by respect and adoration. From their classic roles in McClintock and The Quiet Man, their friendship was indisputable due to their persistent dedication off-screen. Wayne frequently called O'Hara the greatest guy I ever knew. She referred to him as her best friend. But O'Hara was saddened when Wayne died in 1979. She later acknowledged that her career changed noticeably and that Hollywood never felt the same without him. How did John Wayne's passing permanently alter the fiery redhead? Watch as we learn more about the lasting effects of their connection and how losing him changed Maureen O'Hara forever. An incredible prediction. In 1920, Charles Fitzsimmons, a prosperous businessman, and his wife, Marguerite Fitzsimmons, welcomed Maureen O'Hara into the world as Maureen Fitzsimmons. She and her 5 siblings grew up in Dublin, and she described their home as always vibrant and entertaining. Maureen described her family as the most remarkable and eccentric family I could possibly have hoped for. At age 5, a psychic came to see her family and predicted she would one day be a well-known movie actress. "You'll leave Ireland one day and become a famous woman known worldwide," the psychic added. "But eventually, everything will elude you." She joined the Abbey Theatre. Although Maureen had always admired the concept of acting, she didn't get a taste of what that life may be like until she joined the Dublin Abbey Theatre at 14. She played supporting parts on stage for 3 years before landing a significant role. American entertainer Harry Richmond was immediately drawn to Maureen's leading role and thought she should be in movies instead of performing on stage. He went to Dublin to encourage Maureen to take a screen test for a film. Even though this screen test was a complete failure, it introduced her to English actor Charles Laughton, who immediately signed a contract with the young actress. The only catch was that she had to change Fitzsimmons to O'Hara as her last name. Maureen married young and quickly at first. O'Hara met producer George H. Brown while securing her breakout role in Alfred Hitchcock's Jamaica Inn. The young celebrity started dating the producer, but he was far more serious than her. On the day before O'Hara was to depart Ireland for Hollywood to shoot The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Brown forced her to attend a surprise wedding. The abrupt elopement of O'Hara's new star infuriated her Hollywood superiors, and 19-year-old Maureen wasn't very delighted about her actions either. O'Hara decided to remain in the United States after Brown returned to Ireland, and she got her marriage dissolved while she was there. She was forced to stay in the USA during World War II. O'Hara was still in America working for Charles Laughton's film business when World War II started. Since nothing happened in Hollywood, it would have been excellent for the actress to return home to Ireland and be with her family. Nevertheless, Laughton concluded that selling O'Hara's contract to RKO Pictures would be more advantageous for him. She was betrayed and abandoned by the friend who had brought her to the United States and helped her make her Hollywood debut. For this, she was cast in a bill of divorcement. But once O'Hara turned down the director, John Farrow, he became a bully and hounded her. When the director became overwhelmed, the actress, who never takes things lightly, punched him in the jaw. Work with the famed John Ford. In the initial years following her arrival in Hollywood, O'Hara accepted the films presented to her. However, these were primarily composed of poor directors and bad screenplays. She made a final effort and pleaded with her agency to find her a role in a movie directed by John Ford, just as she considered giving it all up and returning to Ireland. O'Hara ended up in How Green Was My Valley as a result. Working with Ford was a dream for most young actresses, and the role was fantastic. However, Ford immediately fell in love with O'Hara, unlike many of the previous filmmakers she collaborated with, and this was not reciprocated. It came out that when Ford didn't get his way, he would be a cruel and aggressive guy, and O'Hara was frequently the target of his inebriated outbursts during their joint workdays. Her second husband. Shortly after their nuptials, Maureen understood the type of person she had married. Price was not only a bully, but he also came with some pretty terrible habits. like drinking heavily and gambling away their money. Maureen made an unsuccessful attempt to encourage him to go to rehab. The young actress felt obliged to remain in this awful marriage rather than file for divorce, since she had a reputation to maintain and was a devoted Catholic girl. Unfortunately, the marriage only deteriorated with time, leaving O'Hara to juggle the horrors she experienced at home and her professional life. In 1942, the actress got sick. Maureen was scheduled to collaborate with actor Tyrone Power on Son of Fury, the story of Benjamin Blake, in 1942. Regretfully, O'Hara was admitted to the hospital shortly before production was set to begin because of 2 excruciating ovarian cysts and a ruptured appendix. As a result, she was temporarily unable to work. Daryl Zanuck, her producer, was not at all empathetic. It was an insult to the diligent actress that he said O'Hara only wanted to take time off. Additionally, he said that her illness was caused by issues that were left over from an abortion. This is not something that you would say to any lady, much less an Irish Catholic. Queen of Tabloids. O'Hara truly started her career as the Queen of Technicolor in Hollywood when the war concluded and things returned to a somewhat normal state. In color movies, her striking red hair, green eyes, and light complexion made her a desirable woman for producers and filmmakers. However, the bright lights on set were a drawback, giving the actress terrible headaches and conjunctivitis. In addition to her health issues, O'Hara was causing the newspaper to burn and making enemies out of jealousy. A lady who claimed to have met O'Hara and that the actress had attempted to approach her in an elevator was the first to come out with the story. Although that rumor was dispelled, it was regrettably only the start. The actress gave birth in 1944. Despite the difficulties in her personal life, Maureen O'Hara was ecstatic when her daughter, Browen, was born on June 30th, 1944. O'Hara embraced parenthood and cherished every minute with her child, even though she and director William Price had a tumultuous marriage. Even this happy period wasn't without controversy, though. RKO Pictures studio management questioned O'Hara's suitability for future jobs after a fellow actress propagated accusations that she'd put on too much weight. Although O'Hara vehemently refuted the allegations, the rumors almost cost her a part that was promised. Hollywood's unattainable beauty standards had already impacted her career, but she remained resilient. She demonstrated that she was a gifted actress and a loving mother by staying committed to her daughter and career. Even though Price wasn't a perfect spouse, O'Hara loved raising Bronwyn, which is now one of her favorite things. Almost kidnapped in Ireland. O'Hara opted to take Bronwyn to Ireland to introduce her to the family after giving birth because she needed a respite from the turmoil of Hollywood. It was supposed to be a tranquil getaway, but it almost became a nightmare. One evening, a stranger arrived at her family's door and said they would take her to an event. O'Hara sent them away, confused, knowing she'd not made any such plans. She was horrified to learn that she had just escaped kidnapping when she woke up the following morning to startling headlines in the local newspapers. Irish report plot to kidnap Miss O'Hara. Even though the plot specifics were never revealed, it was a horrifying reminder of the risks associated with her notoriety. O'Hara became even more watchful of her safety after that, ensuring her daughter would always be shielded from the negative aspects of celebrity. Next film helped to redeem her career. Days after her terrifying abduction nightmare, Maureen O'Hara got a surprise call from 20th Century Fox. Her contract immediately compelled her to return to Hollywood to film a new Christmas movie, even though she wanted to spend more time in Ireland. Despite her initial reluctance, taking the position was a turning point in her career. The movie was Miracle on 34th Street, a holiday classic that resurrected O'Hara's career and became one of the most cherished films ever made. She made lifelong friends with the famous Edmund Gwenn and the youthful Natalie Wood while they were co-stars. The film's enormous popularity brought her extraordinary aptitude and capacity to enthrall viewers to the industry's attention. Despite her initial lack of enthusiasm for the project, O'Hara would describe Miracle on 34th Street as one of her most excellent choices since it cemented her status as a Hollywood legend. 1951 was a horrible year for O'Hara. O'Hara's personal life remained chaotic despite her career recovery. William Price, her husband, had become increasingly alcoholic, depleting her money and engaging in careless spending. Being a devoted Catholic, O'Hara was conflicted since she couldn't deny the emotional toll of their poisonous marriage. But her faith forbade divorce. During this period, rumors were that she had become close to Anthony Quinn, her co-star in Sinbad the Sailor. Quinn later acknowledged that he greatly admired her, even if the nature of their relationship was never proven. But O'Hara hoped for change and stayed faithful to her marriage. Price, however, took matters into his own hands in 1951. He filed for divorce and left on the 10th anniversary of their marriage. O'Hara was devastated, but she was finally free to go on. Regretfully, she would have to overcome numerous obstacles before achieving long-term contentment in her personal life. Left for a restful trip to Mexico. O'Hara yearned to be away from the emotional toll of her marriage after her traumatic divorce. She decided to travel alone to Mexico, hoping the country's lively culture and warm beaches would help her unwind. She didn't anticipate falling in love once more. She fell in love with Enrique Parra, a prosperous politician and businessman, when she was there. Parra was very different from her ex-husband in that he was personable, intelligent, and most importantly, financially independent. When O'Hara went home with Parra proudly by her side, their brief affair became the talk of Hollywood. Her new affair, though, did not sit well with everyone. After her previous heartbreaks, some in Hollywood were dubious, while others disapproved of her dating a well-known Mexican person. O'Hara didn't care, though, because she was now feeling the fire and joy she'd been lacking after years of disappointment. Her new beau was a kind man. Enrique Parra was independent of O'Hara's celebrity and fortune, unlike the men in her past. He had his profession and money, and he was a prosperous businessman in Mexico. More significantly, he showed O'Hara the respect and care she had long desired in a partner. But O'Hara wasn't prepared to put her faith in blind faith after being burned once. Despite her love for Parra, she was wary and surreptitiously engaged a private investigator to check his past. Although it was a risky move, O'Hara had to make it. The inquiry verified that Parra was, in fact, the kind and decent man he claimed to be. O'Hara could completely embrace the relationship after her fears were allayed, and the two had a passionate love affair. Even though they never got married, Parra played a significant role in O'Hara's life, demonstrating that love may occasionally come as a surprise even after a heartbreak. Started working a lot with John Wayne. O'Hara began filming more adventure and Western films in the 1950s after discovering she performed well in these genres. She did exceptionally well in the role opposite John Wayne. People believed they were having an affair because of the intense on-screen chemistry. O'Hara and Wayne are said to have had an intermittent connection for many years, though this was never proven. According to one source, O'Hara was too strong for Wayne to handle, which is the only explanation for why he never asked her to marry him. She took on the tabloids. O'Hara had to cope with rumors and tabloids once more in the 1950s. O'Hara, who hated having her life plastered all over newspapers, was pushed to the limit by the magazine Confidential, known for pushing boundaries. However, they messed with the wrong woman when they published a story about O'Hara and Parra being caught in the act during a showing at Grauman's Chinese Theater. O'Hara wasn't near the theater that night because she was filming her most recent feature in Spain. The magazine was brought before the court, and O'Hara's testimony led to their total discrediting. Although it occurs more frequently now, this was a significant development in tabloids and court proceedings. Fight for custody of her daughter. With her flourishing profession and new love, the late 1950s were better for O'Hara, but she still faced a significant obstacle. Price, her ex-husband, sued her in court to get custody of their daughter. Price claimed he wanted custody because of his ex-wife's immoral lifestyle. A stranger then came up to the actress and informed her that Price was, in fact, gay, something she might use as evidence in court. O'Hara, however, opted to take the high road and use her intelligence to retaliate. She retained full custody of her daughter after winning the case. Her deep love ended after 15 years. After her turbulent marriage to Charles Blair, Maureen O'Hara's romance with Enrique Parra appeared to be a new beginning. In Hollywood, where relationships sometimes break down under stress, they accomplished a remarkable feat by being united for 15 years. However, the relationship started to fall apart even though O'Hara had strong feelings for Parra. The couple suffered from outside influence, such as the condemnation of their union by many people in O'Hara's inner circle. However, the most significant setback was when tragedy befell Parra's family in 1967. He was saddened and emotionally aloof after the death of his daughter. Parra started to distance himself from O'Hara because of his overwhelming sadness, which prevented him from offering the same level of emotional support that she had previously provided. The couple eventually split up because the burden was too much for them to handle. O'Hara was devastated by the breakup, although she would later find solace in other aspects of her life. Her heart healed with an Irishman. Although O'Hara was devastated, this was short-lived. O'Hara had met Charles F. Blair, Jr., a pilot, back in 1946 when he piloted the aircraft she used to return to Ireland. The two had spent time together and had grown close over the years. Also, Blair had a friendship with O'Hara's brothers. Blair and O'Hara went out to support one another after being unmarried. Although the two made an intriguing partnership, they were both at life stages when it made the most sense to settle down with someone comfortable and loving. Blair soon asked Maureen to marry him, and she said yes. Her ex-husband passed on in a horrible way. O'Hara was shocked to learn of her ex-husband, William Houston Price's passing, even though they'd not had the ideal marriage and that she had to battle him during their divorce. The family was devastated to learn that Price had passed away from a heart attack. The two had a daughter together. However, O'Hara didn't find out until long after his passing that her daughter's father had not died of natural causes. Price committed suicide at home after returning to Mississippi shortly before his death. His family kept O'Hara and her daughter, Bronwyn, in the dark. The actress was retired. O'Hara started playing more age-appropriate parts as she approached her 40s, which is how the world first saw her in the first version of The Parent Trap. O'Hara chose to be more traditional rather than try to mask her age and stay up with the rest of Hollywood, and gradually the glamour of acting faded from her eyes. O'Hara rejected controversial photo shoots left and right and refused to accept any nonsense from directors who were too hands-on from the moment she arrived in America. However, there were always those risque parts in movies that O'Hara found intolerable. She had essentially given up performing by the time the 1970s arrived. She also ran a company with her husband. After she retired from acting, Maureen O'Hara discovered a new passion in managing a business with her third husband, Charles Blair. O'Hara left the movie industry to run a tiny airline after the couple moved to the Virgin Islands. Her financial sense became evident as she took on more duties, such as editing a local magazine that concentrated on island life. O'Hara's life was about to be upended, yet she was successful in her new endeavors. Blair's plane tragically crashed in 1972 when an unanticipated engine failure occurred when it was flying between St. Croix and St. Thomas. Blair and 3 other passengers died in the crash. This was an unfathomable loss for O'Hara. After spending decades surrounded by the lights of Hollywood, the woman now had to deal with a profound personal sorrow that would permanently alter her. She lost a significant portion of her life that had fulfilled her in ways other than performing, in addition to her spouse. Husband's cause of death. O'Hara started talking about her doubts about her husband, Charles Blair's strange death, several years after he passed away. After some research, O'Hara concluded that Blair's plane crash was not an accident, despite rumors. He had, she thought, been associated with the CIA or another agency. O'Hara eventually ceased her investigation because she had gone so far that she started to worry about her safety. None of these claims were ever validated, despite the actress's belief that the plane crash was planned and intended to kill her husband and quiet him for whatever reason. Then she lost a dear friend. John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara have been close friends since they first worked together. As a strong cancer survivor herself, O'Hara was one of the first people to see John Wayne when he was diagnosed with the disease. She couldn't contain her tears as she was astounded by his frailty. The two iconic celebrities spent the following 3 days reliving their beloved friendship and remembering their unique times together. Upon O'Hara's departure from Wayne, also referred to as the Duke, it was their last goodbyes. Wayne, always the smooth talker, praised her as she put on her coat, adding, "That's a gorgeous coat, it looks beautiful on you." Being the strong woman she was, she got Congress to give Wayne a Congressional Gold Medal, which was a very high accomplishment. Even though Wayne had only been honored a few months before his death, O'Hara was nevertheless devastated by his demise. O'Hara did her best for her fans. In addition to being a gifted actor, Maureen O'Hara had a kind heart and genuinely cared for her followers. She starred in numerous movies, but her all-time favorite is The Quiet Man from 1952. She was, therefore, excited to meet a New York City police officer who shared her passion for the film. O'Hara recognized a chance to make the officer's life happier after he was wounded while on duty and became paraplegic. Their relationship developed beyond their brief encounter when she paid him a visit to the hospital. O'Hara became friends with his wife and family, supported him emotionally during his recuperation, and even went to their child's christening. This act demonstrated O'Hara's generosity and showed that, to her, being famous meant more than simply being loved. It meant changing people's lives. Her fans were individuals she genuinely cared about, not just admirers. She lost yet another friend in Hollywood. Maureen O'Hara accepted her final years with grace and fortitude despite her fight with cancer. She did, however, have to see the tragic demise of numerous close friends because she lived for almost a century. Another sad event occurred in 1981 after she lost her spouse, ex-husband, and lifelong friend John Wayne. Her co-star in Miracle on 34th Street, Natalie Wood, passed away inexplicably, shocking both O'Hara and Hollywood. Natalie's unexpected death profoundly impacted O'Hara because the two had a strong bond. Mom wrote in her book, "The Day She Died, I Cried Shamelessly," to convey her anguish. The loss served as another heartbreaking reminder of how precarious life in Hollywood can be. It was such a horrible way to go for such a lovely girl. O'Hara demonstrated that beneath her flamboyant on-screen presence was a woman with an extraordinary sympathetic heart by never forgetting the friendships she had made, even in her later years. O'Hara's final years. Maureen O'Hara was prepared to pass away peacefully by 1989, but destiny had other ideas. She first resided in the cherished St. Croix house she had shared with her late husband, but a hurricane devastated the property that year. She was forced to move to Glengariff, Ireland, where she employed a personal assistant to assist her in her day-to-day activities. But rather than finding solace, O'Hara had to deal with yet another challenge when her family accused the assistant of abusing and taking advantage of her. O'Hara was so distressed that she left Ireland and relocated to Idaho, where she lived out her last years with her grandson. Even with the difficulties of aging, O'Hara maintained her firm resolve. Despite being an old Hollywood legend, she persevered through hardships in her final years with the same fortitude that had characterized her career. The redhead beauty died in 2015. Surrounded by her loved ones, Maureen O'Hara died on October 24, 2015, at the age of 95. As she passed away, the music from her favorite movie, The Quiet Man, played as a heartfelt homage to her lifetime interest. O'Hara, who'd spent her life tearing down barriers in Hollywood, was well known for her fiery spirit, beautiful red hair, and uncompromising independence. She frequently talked about how she insisted on portraying strong, intelligent women, rather than just romantic interests since she didn't want to be typecast. Shortly before passing, she remarked, "It's been a good life. I've loved creating movies and had a great career. I was fortunate to collaborate on films with many of the greatest directors and actors. I have no regrets." O'Hara will always be regarded as one of Hollywood's most iconic and bold actors, leaving a legacy that inspires generations. If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon